On January 27, 2026, breaking news shook the world. A Chinese vessel rammed a Philippine supply boat in the South China Sea. Footage showed a massive Chinese Coast Guard ship colliding with a much smaller Philippine vessel, a deliberate act of aggression. This was more than a maritime skirmish. It was a direct challenge to international law and freedom of navigation. Manila lodged a strong protest, but the world's response was immediate. The ramming became a test of global resolve. Would the world allow brute force to dictate international relations? The world's response would shape the future of the Indo-Pacific and beyond. The video was unmistakable. A Chinese Coast Guard vessel veered sharply, ramming the Uniza May 4, a Philippine supply boat. The impact was violent, pushing the smaller boat off course and endangering its crew. This was not an isolated event. China had repeatedly harassed Philippine vessels with water cannons and dangerous maneuvers. But this ramming crossed a new line, moving from harassment to direct assault. The BRP Sierra Madre, a grounded World War II-era ship, is a symbol of Philippine sovereignty. China wants it gone. By attacking its supply line, Beijing aimed to force the outpost's abandonment. The footage went viral, putting a human face on the conflict and forcing the world to take sides. The clarity of the visuals left no room for doubt. The incident became a global litmus test. Support the right to operate freely or tacitly endorse force. The world's reaction was swift and decisive. The ramming at Second Thomas Shoal transformed a regional dispute into a global concern. The courage of the Filipino crew and the aggression of the Chinese vessel were on full display. The world could no longer look away. This clash is more than a local dispute. It's a test of the global order. At stake, will international law prevail, or will might make right? The 2016 Hague ruling rejected China's sweeping claims, but Beijing's defiance undermines the entire system. The South China Sea is a vital artery. Over a third of global shipping passes through these waters. Any conflict here would disrupt supply chains and raise prices worldwide. Nations like Germany and France have direct interests: trade, security, and the principle of freedom of navigation. If one nation can seize control of a major waterway, it sets a dangerous precedent for the world. The Philippine supply boat now represents every trading nation's right to safe passage. When China attacks that right, it threatens the foundation of global commerce. The fate of a small crew is now tied to the future of international law. The world is watching because its own security is at stake. European nations once saw the South China Sea as a distant problem, but that's changed. The ramming incident and lessons from Ukraine have awakened Berlin and Paris to the link between economic and military security. Germany, reliant on open sea lanes, now openly supports international law and condemns China's actions. France, with Pacific territories, has sent naval vessels to patrol the region, demonstrating commitment to freedom of navigation. Joint statements from Berlin and Paris offered explicit support for the Philippines and called out China's intimidation. This unified European voice adds diplomatic weight and signals a broadening coalition. Beijing's actions are isolating it from major world powers, not just the US. The South China Sea is now a global test of principle, not just a regional flashpoint. Europe's awakening is reshaping the international response. The rules-based order has new defenders. The South China Sea is the world's commercial superhighway. $3.4 trillion in trade passes through each year. For export-driven Germany, any disruption would sever supply chains and threaten national prosperity. France's interests are tied to both trade and its Pacific territories, whose economies depend on regional stability. Aggression here sets a precedent that could threaten France's own sovereign rights. The risk isn't hypothetical. A crisis would send energy prices soaring and impact households worldwide. The stability of the South China Sea is a global issue, not just Asia's problem. The economic interconnectedness of the modern world means a single waterway can hold the global economy hostage. Germany and France have a direct stake in keeping these lanes open. The cost of conflict would be felt in Berlin, Paris, and beyond. That's why Europe is now engaged. The stakes are nothing less than global economic security. In response, the Philippines, Germany, and France are forging a new security partnership. The Philippines is diversifying its alliances, seeking European support to modernize its defenses. Germany, once militarily restrained, is now sending assets to the Indo-Pacific and deepening cooperation with Manila. Joint exercises and training are underway, with Germany providing expertise and potential defense equipment. France, already active in the region, is finalizing agreements for more robust military cooperation with the Philippines. French naval technology and training are boosting Manila's maritime capabilities. This trilateral partnership is flexible, issue-based, and built on shared values: international law, freedom of navigation, and peaceful dispute resolution. It's not a formal alliance, but a united front. The message to Beijing: the world is watching, and force will be met with coordinated resistance. This coalition is a new model for 21st century security. The Philippines, Germany, and France are setting a precedent for global cooperation. The stakes demand nothing less. China's actions are part of a deliberate strategy to dominate the South China Sea. The 9-line claim, rejected by international law, overlaps with the zones of several nations. Beijing has built and militarized artificial islands, projecting power far from its coast. These outposts function as unsinkable aircraft carriers, enforcing China's claims. Alongside military buildup, China uses gray zone tactics, harassment, blockades, and dangerous maneuvers just below the threshold of war. The goal: wear down smaller nations and make resistance too costly. This strategy is driven by nationalism, security, and economic ambition. But it's backfiring. China's aggression is uniting its neighbors and drawing in outside powers. The coalition forming in response is exactly what Beijing hoped to avoid. The region is pushing back, together. Diplomacy is now joined by deterrence. Joint military exercises and defense deals signal resolve. German, French, and Philippine forces are training together, building interoperability and demonstrating unity. These drills are not preparations for war, but clear warnings. Aggression will be met with a coordinated response. France is supplying advanced naval assets. Germany is providing logistics and training. These partnerships are strategic investments, binding the countries together. Integrated deterrence combines diplomatic, economic, and military elements for a credible defense posture. The Philippines is not alone. It has powerful friends willing to act. This network raises the cost of aggression, making conflict less attractive. In today's complex security environment, unity is the best way to maintain peace. The world is watching these partnerships take shape. The message: peace through strength and cooperation. The South China Sea crisis is a defining moment for the 21st century. At stake, a world governed by rules or by force. The alliance of the Philippines, Germany, and France offers a new model: collective action based on shared principles. Lessons from Ukraine show that unity and clarity deter aggression. By acting early, these nations are drawing a line, defending law, not provoking conflict. This coalition is a template for how middle powers can balance superpowers. The Philippines is showing smaller nations can build diverse partnerships, not just choose sides. Germany and France are proving Europe's security role in the Indo-Pacific is vital. The goal is peace and stability, not confrontation. The world's eyes are on this alliance. Can it succeed? Through modernization, alliances, and support for law, a path to peace is possible. The future of global security may depend on the strength of this united front.